We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for joining us today, and welcome to part 3 of our HPE Aruba Security Showcase. And we're featuring Edge Connect and Access today. Our SASE and SSS solutions together provide edge to cloud zero-touch security, and they are the next generation for internal firewall and VPN solutions. So other benefits of our Edge Connect SD-WAN solutions include smart routing and WAN redundancy, application orchestration, and prioritization, as well as reducing latency. Our SD-WAN product and technical marketing expert, Jeff Olson, will lead the discussion, and I just have a few special mentions. Please submit any of your questions in the chat or Q&A sections. We will answer questions as they arise, and we want to make sure this is interactive. Last mention, this will be recorded, and I will provide the recorded session as well as a feedback survey after the event. Thank you for joining, and Jeff, without further ado.
Thank you very much. Yeah, happy to be here and welcome everyone. Thanks for spending time to hear more about the Aruba SASE solutions, and they are the answer for organizations that are undergoing WAN and security transformation, really to meet a number of challenges which we'll go into. The solution allows you to architect a secure access service edge. That's what SASE stands for. Across branch, campus, WAN, remote workers, that really enables the organizations to meet the business needs with simplicity, speed, and savings. And some of the outcomes is it really allows you to deliver the highest end user quality of experience, reduce business risk with consistent network and security policies, and automate connectivity for the users with always-on security. My name is Jeff Olson, and I'm the director of SD-WAN product and technical marketing, and have a small but mighty team. We are responsible for doing what you see on our website, everything from data sheets and white papers and ebooks or brochures, lightboard videos, animated videos. So the content that you see that's very much public facing is the type of work that my team delivers. So hopefully you'll have a chance to spend some time looking at that as well after this session. Put together the following. There we go. Here's the agenda of what put together to cover for you today. And it's a little bit of a alphabet soup, if you will, around SASE. And I know the audience, many of you, some are a bit familiar with SASE and what it means. But for others, it may be brand new, or there's a lot of confusion in the market. So I'll first talk about the need for SASE and what are the trends and the challenges that are driving that. Then we'll go into how we're approaching it here at HP Aruba Networking. So involving zero trust and SASE, and the importance of considering these as you transform your WAN and security together. Then we'll click a little deeper into our SSE capabilities, which is the cloud-based security, which we'll talk about there, and then advanced SD-WAN. Sometimes we hear, oh, I can just move to cloud security. I don't need WAN anymore. I mean, all I need is the new cloud-based SSE security, and that's enough. I want to give you some information on what an SD-WAN brings and why you need one as part of SASE, and then close with some of the benefits. And we'll definitely have time for Q&A, or you can put them in the Q&A panel here, and we'll answer those as we go. So again, a bit of the what is SASE, and for those of you that are very familiar, hang on just a minute, we'll get a little deeper here, but I know it's important. I've done a number of presentations, and everyone's at a different point in even understanding SASE, and it's important to level set that. So Gartner analyst firm coined this term of SASE about 3 years ago. And because they saw a need in the market, they saw this transformation that was occurring as networking and security were converging, and that customers needed a better way to evaluate and architect a solution that addressed both. So we like to think of it as two halves of this circle. And in a simple, equation, it's SD-WAN plus SSE, Security Service Edge. And so on the left, a lot of the SD-WAN components are probably more familiar to you because, we went through a big SD-WAN transition, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago when SD-WAN was sort of born, and it took a while to reach adoption. And now, we have good growth and a lot of adoption in SD-WAN. So you see those kinds of capabilities there on the left half of the circle. The types of things that SD-WAN delivers, they tend to be more connectivity based. Of course, makes sense for the wide area network connecting your sites. On the right-hand side is the SSE, and here you have a few of the components. There's certainly more than these, but these are recognized as the kind of the main components. And they were born in the cloud, built as cloud. So kind of like SD-WAN, SSE is a cloud delivered service. It's managed from the cloud and provides, subscription-based licensing. It has features, a number of different features. So those are listed there on the right, and we will get to those and what those things mean, as we go forward. But really, the environment has changed, and we need a new way to look at it. And Gartner coined this term. And what's interesting is even many of the other analysts have also adopted the terms of SASE. So a lot of information about it. But because of that, there's different ways of measuring it and looking at it. So what is driving SASE? Why is SASE the need for it? Well, here are sort of 3 areas we can look at that are requiring us to change the way we think about networking and security. A lot of applications have moved to the cloud. And it's interesting. It wasn't that long ago. It seems like we were trying to convince people that they really could move applications and data to the cloud. And now it's so widely accepted. And there are cases I recognize where you need private cloud and all of that. But in general, majority of customers have already adopted or using some level of cloud. And when you do that, the way the data is going for your users to reach that data in the cloud, it takes a different type of networking and connectivity and even security. So that's the first factor there. So cloud delivers great benefits, and customers want to even leverage multiple clouds and all of that. But how do you do that? The second one is around, IoT, Internet of Things. And it's really exciting to work in tech. And I know many of you're probably implementing new capabilities around IoT. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But, it's the user experience or the student experience or the guests, or, if you're in hospital, it depends what vertical you're in, or healthcare. There are these smart devices inside the hospital, et cetera. In stores, we're seeing it. Handheld devices, so someone can help you, or they're scanning in different ways, or you walk through things, whatever. We all are, it's like I said, it's exciting. There's a lot of technology. But what's important here is this vast, skyrocketing number of IoT devices are trying to enter your network. And how do you control that? And how do you manage that and make sure they're connecting securely with performance, but they can only do the things that they need to do to prevent any kind of breaches or security threats. And then the third one, we're all, sort of made it through and come out of COVID, but we all were working in this model. Many of you still are. Many are working in a hybrid model. It depends on the type of job that you do or your employees. But hybrid work also changed this model, because now we were working from different sites, from different not just airports and traveling, but maybe vacation rentals or living somewhere else, or whatever, and also need to go into the office at some period of time. And so how do you ensure that connectivity and security works in those areas? So these are really a few of the key trends. The other thing, I just leave you with some questions here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can read for yourself, but hit a few of them, is like to think about these as we're going through the presentation, or think about them as you're planning your SASE framework or on your journey to SASE. These are some of the decisions or considerations that you would want to do. So, we already talked a little bit about cloud workloads, right? How are they impacting it? But how do I deliver app and services to the users with that highest level of experience? Probably one of the most common complaints that you maybe hear from your users or your IT team, if it is telling you that that's a challenge. How do I simplify the infrastructure that I have to manage? We'll get back to IoT later. How do I control who and what is on my network and what can they do? And then how do I make things easier for myself and for IT, right? There's not enough staff. We have too much to do. There's a lot of technology. You can't have a lot of disparate systems that you have to manage and then try to run your business on top of that. It requires too many steps, manual changes, etc. So I'm sure that one or more of these, maybe all of them, are resonating with you as you're thinking about the current challenges of your environment and as you're looking for solutions going forward. But again, at the same time, I see SASE as a journey. It's not you're just going to, buy and deploy 100% SASE from Aruba or anybody else for that matter and just deploy it tomorrow. It's you have things in place, and so you need a platform that allows you to go on a journey. So before we get to that, though, I thought it'd be good to break this down by challenges. So there's three. I'm going to cover just three challenges, a lot more, but if you look at this picture on the right, your network probably looks something like this today. Or if it doesn't, I promise those of you that have been in this industry for a while, you have definitely deployed networks that look like this. So, it was simple in a way because you had your branch locations, you have your data center, and that green circle is, we'll just protect that by using firewalls. Or we'll put firewalls up in the data center and we'll route all that traffic there and hey, I'm secure. It's like building a big fence or a moat. And my users, when they're working mobile or they're at the airport, et cetera, they'll connect in through VPN clients. If they're working from home, yeah, we just give them VPN, they connect in. And, in a lot of ways that made life easier. That's the technology we had. Everything was very much physical firewall boxes, and that's how it was based. But that presents a lot of challenges when now to address the three areas that I mentioned before, working from home, IoT, and most importantly, cloud and SaaS applications. Because what's happening is all of that data then is being backhauled or routed through those firewalls, through that data center. And that causes, for sure, performance issues and other challenges. So there are disadvantages to this, and we recognize the need to transform networking and security, to address this. And there's a few other points there on the slide. So this legacy architecture was very much like routers, firewalls, WAN optimization, very device-based, and you would deploy those at different places. So how can we overcome that? And part of this challenge, and this is another view just to build on a little bit, is that the cloud is really the one that has forced the change here, that the legacy architectures, can't keep up with what's needed. And so you see on the left, that's, some people call that a moat, castle in a moat. And you see there, identity access management, next gen firewall, traditional kind of firewall type capabilities. And those are managed. And then if somebody comes in remotely or from the site, it then gets routed to public cloud through that, the things I just mentioned. But on the right, you see sort of the new model that we're living in, right? All of us. We're using lots of different devices. We're working from lots of different locations. We're not just always at the office. We're working from different places. And more importantly, data is everywhere. Data is in all types of clouds, all types of SaaS, and different locations. Sure, some of the data still resides in your data center. Of course, that's still there too. But this movement of data requires a different way to secure it and to provide connectivity. The next challenge that I wanted to cover is securing IoT devices. And I mentioned that a little bit in our intro, but these are all the things that you have at a particular site or an office or a location or a campus, etc. And you see some of them there, smart devices, smart building controls, they're smart lighting, there could be IoT devices, things in a hospital, etc. And we've met with a number of customers, and the challenge that they often have is when you use that legacy kind of network architecture that I showed in the first challenge, is they go, well, the way we do this is we just create VLANs and ACLs, and we manually set all these up. So we say that point of sale goes in this VLAN, the pharmacists at the store go in this LAN, and my retail goes in another, and so we've met some of these like kind of these mid-tier kind of, I'll use it as example, like a retail that you're all familiar with, like a Walgreens or a CVS or this type of thing. And the IT will say, well, I have 28 VLANs, and that's how they manage it. Well, there's a number of challenges with that. Just first, that you have so many to manage and try to put things into those VLANs. But how do you handle when a threat is inside your store, or once they're in, or if they do get access, can they move laterally? And manual mistakes can be made, and human errors as well, that create additional vulnerabilities. So we know that this method, well, it worked in the past, and it's how networks were designed. It's kind of built around basic routing and these functions, but we need a better way. And so the solution here is, those of you that are Aruba customers already or have deployed, I would say any versions really of Aruba Wireless over the years, one of the strengths of Aruba is security has been built in from the very beginning. And we have something that we call zero trust dynamic segmentation, where the network like recognizes what's on the network, puts it in a certain group based on role, and then decides how that can access the network and what things it can talk to or access. So that's very much an important consideration, is how you're using IoT and how you're securing the IoT. And all of these challenges get even worse when you have lots of locations, lots of sites, lots of campuses, lots of buildings. It only makes these challenges greater, because, how do you do that in a uniform and consistent way? And then the third one that we hear a lot, and I'm sure those of you that are in IT or work with the lead IT or involved in some of that, is around that quality of experience, right? We all know what that feels like. We all know it's so frustrating. We have that deliverable. We're trying to get something done. I can't access the data. It's slow. I'm on something like we're doing today, or I'm using Teams and I'm having, issues with my voice, or, file downloads or upload, different problems, right? So how the challenge is for IT in this new world order of hybrid work, IoT, data and cloud is, how do you deliver that highest quality of experience? Well, at the same time, you're trying to, optimize your costs, you're trying to reduce the costs, reduce the amount of work that you need to do. Maybe you have multiple links from, internet, broadband, you may have satellite, 5G, you may have private MPLS circuits. How do I manage that and make sure that I can deliver the best quality of experience given what I have? And make that the best for the users. How do you make that consistent across the applications? And you want to be able to prioritize your business critical apps and make sure they're not being sort of overrun by somebody at the building or the location that's doing something else that's taking all of the bandwidth, and bringing down that level of performance and experience. There's complexity, of course, of integrating, especially when you start doing multiple cloud, AWS, Azure, Google, Alibaba, whatever it is, and you're connecting, and you've got to manage that with multiple cloud companies as well. That those things in integrating, as it says there, also with some legacy connectivity. And then lastly about this, just how do you monitor all of this and manage it? It's difficult with, like I said, when you have silos or multiple devices with different configuration tools, different management tools, very, very difficult to do this at scale and to deliver that quality of experience. So these are really the three challenges that I wanted you to think about. And the way that Aruba addresses these is, again, we look at it in this way. It aligns very much to the SASE model, but it's built at the bottom really around zero trust. And that is our ClearPass network access control. We've got other capabilities that came out recently, which is our net conductor, which, these things allow you to define that policy when things join the network, but actually carry that policy across the network to other sites, et cetera. And then, of course, SD-WAN, which we're going to get into a little bit more here, and that provides the WAN connectivity, and SSE, the cloud-based security. Well, you put all that together, and that's our zero trust and SASE solution framework. We'll go into those. And it looks a little bit like this. A lot going on maybe on this diagram if you haven't seen it yet, but this is our unified SASE solution, and it maps, if you remember, it looks a lot like when I was explaining SASE to you and the different parts. So you have users on the left that are accessing from remote, working from home, they're at branches, they're wherever, and they are accessing the network. They're connecting through one of these on-ramps or SD-WAN on-ramps. I'll get to those a little bit more later, but we have choice there and we have options in terms of how to connect to the SD-WAN. From there, they will leverage SSE, our HPE Aruba networking SSE, and benefit from zero trust network access, secure web gateway, these types of things. As that data, they're accessing the network, and then as they're transiting to reach the data or the applications that are on the right-hand side of the screen. So it could be in the data center. We know you have data centers, of course. They're not going away. It could be up in the private cloud, virtual private data centers, SaaS, or you're out on the internet to go somewhere. And so this gives you the pieces for connecting and protecting users as they're accessing data anywhere from any device. Now, the part that may be new, I know when I've presented this that a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but some that I presented to, more familiar with SD-WAN concepts and WAN and routing and things because that's been around a little bit longer, and less familiar with the SSE capability. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on what are these and give you just a taste of what they are. Obviously, you'll need to, go and look a little bit deeper, and we have other information that you can find out about these. But the first one is ZTNA, or Zero Trust Network Access. And what it is it provides secure access to applications for remote or third-party users, and it's meant to replace traditional VPNs. I'm sure everyone here on this call has used a VPN at some point. You even are probably likely using one right now. You may be working from home or working somewhere, and that's how you're even connected today to do your work. But legacy VPNs have a number of challenges, and they're not built for, again, this modern way. So what ZTNA does is provides that least privilege access. That way you can give granular security down to the applications. Because today, when you're using VPN and you're going into your company, you're on the network. You have access to the entire enterprise network. Now, yes, I recognize that you log into different tools and things like that. It's not like it's a free for all, but for malicious attacks or threats, I mean, it's too much exposure, right? If you think about it, when people are working, they have certain things they need to do, and that's all they need access to. If you're a hospital worker and you're a nurse and you're working in the hospital, you need access to, Epic Healthcare, and that's what you do. There's nothing else you need to be accessing from work. That is your job. That's what you access. Therefore, you have that privilege. And so let's do that down to that level, that's where you have access and nothing more than that. So in simple terms, you can think about that. There's a lot more to this. There's some sophistication in terms of accessing SaaS applications and how do you handle encrypted traffic, and there's more to this. But in simple, just think that this is giving granular, secure access that can replace a VPN. Oh, and sometimes you have an agent that could run like on my iPhone. It could run on my laptop. That's an agent. But sometimes there's implementations where you use sort of an agentless connectivity as well. All right. The second one is the Cloud Access Security Broker, and this is, or CASB, and this regulates the data as it's in motion. As the data is moving through the system, it's monitoring and watching that data. And this is really meant to protect that critical data. This could be corporate data, sensitive data, what have you, right? Healthcare data, whatever, things that you want to prevent any kind of loss. You don't want to allow someone to, copy it over to Dropbox or that type of thing, right? So you want those kind of controls to make sure that the data is being handled appropriately. And it also can allow you to determine any kind of shadow IT. You might find that people are using applications that you never realized they were using from work, et cetera, that they shouldn't be. And when they're just coming in with a VPN, you don't necessarily have the tools or the visibility to see that. So again, this is CASB. And the next one is SWG, Secure Web Gateway, perhaps the one that's been around maybe the longest in terms of the SSE capability sets. But this one protects against malicious web traffic sort of coming in, or ransomware or attacks on individual users. So instead of me just like on my laptop right now, I open an email or I go directly to some sites and I now have introduced some risk. It's going through a secure web gateway. So think of like a separate place where you're still accessing what you need, but it lives outside of your particular device. And it can inspect the traffic. It can do URL and DNS filtering and things like that. And so that as a user, you get to do your work, but in sort of a secure way, and it protects you and the business. Another thing that's associated here that's very, very common, this is where you would define rules like, okay, I'm in higher ed, or I'm in healthcare, or whatever, and I don't want my employees going to gambling sites. I don't want my employees going to adult sites. I don't want them connecting to certain countries that are at risk, et cetera. So you can put in rules or create groups of people that very much, again, it's back to that, how do I control what access they have to limit? It's not even that they might want to go to these sites. They could get some kind of threat inside, and it might be trying to call back to a country or some area where there's a threat occurring. So that's a very important aspect. And then the fourth one is digital experience monitoring, which that's not really like these three, and that this is more giving IT the tools now to see this end to end from the client that the user is using all the way through, what kind of performance, metrics, helps with troubleshooting and things like that. And so that category is DEM, DEM. All of this, though, is about protecting the user, giving them, as I said before, the right access, allowing them to do their job, but not allowing them to get off course or go areas that they, didn't even intend to go, or maybe they are trying to do something that they shouldn't have access to, or what have you. But basically, being able to control that from a really nice dashboard and make it simple. So this is a dashboard of our SSE, and as we mentioned up front, this was an acquisition that was made recently called Access Security. And one of the things is that company was founded only 2 or 3 years ago. So it's very, very modern in how it was architected and designed, and was able to sort of take advantage of how the SSE market has moved and the capabilities. And so when you use the UI, and I really encourage you to watch the videos or even go and do a test drive yourself, you'll see the simplicity and how the rules can be combined across these different aspects of ZTNA, SWG, and CASB, making it really a nice user interface. Not all SSEs are designed that way. Many of them treat each one of those areas as separate categories, and maybe you do configuration, et cetera. But really a very nice and intuitive interface here. Not going to go through this whole screen, but you see how it's blocking from risky countries, this first one. The second one is, a blocking rules that are set up and applied to certain groups of users. And notice it says you can't use Dropbox, you can't use Box, and whatever. That means if I'm sharing with you and I, try to move the data, it doesn't allow that. You can't move the data there. And notice it's got like adult sites and phishing and some other. And these are general categories that we get from an engine that sort of categorizes things to make it easy. So that's some of that. And then the next one shows where they can go. They can go to Salesforce. They can do certain things, make VoIP calls, of course. I mean, they're at work, they need to be able to make calls. So that's kind of what you see here. So encourage you to take some time and do a demo, see a demo, ask your account team to show you. And if you are evaluating or looking at these things, I encourage you to do a proof of concept. Install it, bring it up, put some of the rules in that you would need, see how easy it is to get this going quickly. and do that across vendors if you're looking at different ones, really to experience how easy or seamless it can be. Now to move back off of that into SD-WAN, because often we hear, oh, all I need is a cloud security, and SD-WAN is dead. There's no need for SD-WAN. There are use cases that can be met without the SD-WAN. It just depends, but most organizations require SD-WAN and have needs for SD-WAN. So I want to just call out some of those areas for you. So the first one on this slide, what it's showing is how our SD-WAN on-ramps connect to these cloud security SSEs. So this could be the Aruba version, but it can also be other ones, Zscaler, Netscope, iBoss. We have a very large ecosystem of SSE partners. So if you already have standardized and you have implemented one of these SSEs, no problem. It can work wonderfully with our SD-WAN to give you a complete SASE solution and address in that model. Or maybe you need a mixture of something. So not a problem. But what's important here is that you have an SD-WAN that orchestrates, makes it easy to bring up, and drag and drop policies, so that, because what happens with these cloud security nodes is they're all over the world, especially if you're a global company. These nodes can go offline. They bring up new nodes. What's the closest node to you? These things are changing, and the point is you don't want to be manually. You don't want an SD-WAN type solution and try to manually be defining these things. You want a system that's orchestrated that makes that easy for you. So that's one of the values of SD-WAN. Now here's kind of an overview of our advanced SD-WAN, but to back up just a little bit on that box on the right, if you think about when SD-WAN came out and what was the value of SD-WAN and what were the problems it was trying to solve, there was too much stuff at the branch or the site or the location or the building. You had multiple devices there. You had routers, you have firewalls, you had WAN op, you have a number of box type things. Many of those were purchased separately, even from different vendors. And so trying to manage across those and make changes. Also, some of them, the UIs maybe required you to go and do things in different ways, or if you were doing upgrades, you have to, it's a physical box, you have to upgrade it, or maybe you have to buy a new box to run the new software. I mean, all of these were the things, if you think about, were really holding us back from moving forward. So let's not lose sight that this is the value of SD-WAN, is it really brought all that together to simplify what's at the branch and giving the tools and visibility for IT. So that's really what's shown here. On the left, you see a few of the key capabilities that we believe are critical to implement, a large scale, SD-WAN in some of these. And notice that we do have next gen firewall, IDS, IPS, role-based. We do URL filtering on the edge in our SD-WAN as well. So part of this journey to SASE is in understanding your use cases, where you need to implement security, and giving you the tools that some things might be implemented at the edge, some might be implemented in cloud security, some might still be in the data center. So we recognize that this isn't like rip everything out and just go to some new magic solution either. We know you're on a journey. We know you've made purchases. We know you have equipment. So how can we help you on that journey? And to do that, you need an advanced SD-WAN. That's my position on that. So what would that look like? Here's another view of how that would look to show you basically some of those cases. So if we start on the left, here's your office, and you have a device there, an SD-WAN device, and it's intelligent and it's making decisions on how to steer the application. One, it's allowing the user access. It's determined that they can be on. Now they're accessing certain data or applications. How does that need to be steered and handled? Well, the first line, it may be up in the data center. Maybe that data is there. We have a couple special corporate apps that the user needs to go, or the employee needs to go and access, and there's a firewall there. That's fine. We'll send the data there. You access it, data comes back, everything's great. Maybe it even through that firewall has rules to allow it to go outside for developers or something they're doing. That's fine. That may be a use case you already have. You need that, you use that, no problem. The second thing is you may steer some apps, as we've been talking about, to the SSE. So this is where you need CASB or SWIG or these things. And so you're saying, oh, this traffic needs to go for CASB, goes over to SSE. It could be multiple SSEs. It's not, we support many. And there you see where you're in line, where then it's connecting where the data is going out, say to a cloud or SaaS or whatever. So traffic can be steered there. The third one I'm showing is you could say, well, there's also traffic that I don't need to send it to my data center because that'll just slow it down. I don't need to send the traffic to my SSE because the type of traffic is already trusted, or I'm working with, like, this might be, again, depends on your IT and security rules and governance, but, Teams, Zoom, certain things. You can just do a direct internet breakout is what we call that. And you want to just split that traffic off. You'll get better performance. And those are trusted applications in terms of how we interact with them. There are ways to monitor and make sure you're getting what you need. The point here is it's not any one of these, it's the combinations and giving you the tools through the SD-WAN to define business rules or logic that can steer this traffic. And then it results in a much higher level of performance, a better, stronger security position, and allowing you to implement security, and move to SASE really at your own pace, because some of these you could turn on or off or implement as you go. So really important that an SD-WAN is able to do this intelligent routing. There's a lot more to what our SD-WAN does. I only have a few minutes here, but it also does, SaaS performance, app performance. There are a number of things that even on these links, the way we, build the tunnels and do bonding and error correction and all types of things to deliver the highest level of reliability and performance. So, I mean, there's a lot more here, but really I'm trying to make the case of why you need to implement SD-WAN as part of SASE. And then this now is coming back around, sort of a little bit similar picture that we've seen before, but kind of allow me to bring it all together in one way. So basically at the top are all that applications and data like we've seen on different pictures. And at the bottom are these on-ramps, or the way that I work, right? So I could be in an office building using Edge Connect SD-WAN type deployments. I could be using Edge Connect SD branch. These are different on-ramps that connect to the SD-WAN fabric and therefore connect to SSE and up. Or I could be using Edge Connect. I happen to have one here, our Edge Connect micro branch, which is something we did. So this is a device that has SD-WAN capabilities built in, and all you need is this access point. It has Ethernet ports, power over Ethernet. So basically, and there are a number of these. You can use different models. It's not like there's only one, but these devices, as long as they deploy Aruba OS 10, they have SD-WAN in them to connect to the fabric. They can route to the HPE Aruba Networking SSE, etc. And you have that secure connectivity, even from somebody working from home or working in a small office. So that's a micro branch. And then, I skipped over on Edge Connect SD branch, gives you wired, wireless WAN security, all kind of in one nice footprint. And those of you that are existing Aruba customers today, you may already be using some of this functionality if you're using the cloud managed Wi-Fi. So if you are using Aruba Central and managing either Wi-Fi or switching or any of the elements, then you're already partway along SD branch. We call it SD branch because it also has SD-WAN inside of it. And so that's targeted for, sites where you want it all in one. And it's very much a simplicity play for IT in terms of managing your access points and your wireless, et cetera. And then the fourth one is that remote user you see over there, the person. That is where they would be coming in, and we would want to replace the VPN, but now have them connecting and giving them that ZTNA, connecting into the SSE functionality while you're on the road or on the go. So we give a lot of different solutions and on-ramps. We give a lot of capabilities inside the SD-WAN fabric, and then we give a lot of capabilities in terms of SSE, or choose an SSE. You see many vendors there that have excellent SSE as well, and we have integrations with those. And these aren't just integrations, by the way, like, oh, here, I'll give you the design guide and, go implementation guide and go turn it on. I mean, these things are like built into our business intent overlays. They're easy to set up. They use APIs to do configuration, things like that. So, we also support that as well, if that's what meets your requirements. So in summary, for HPE Aruba Networking SASE, kind of delivers benefits in a simple way in sort of three areas. This security posture, allowing you to find these rules. I think, I've shown you where you can choose where to implement security. There are different places, there are different use cases. There's different needs that you need to accommodate on your journey to SASE, and we give you those tools. We significantly reduce that complexity by streamlining things and combining these things together with centralized management, with zero-touch provisioning, with pushing down common policies. These types of capabilities. Really, you see the tools, and that's where I would also ask that you go see a demo, see how you set up business intent overlays, how you set up the security rules, and how easy that is to do. And then the last is to deliver that optimized user experience, no matter what application they're using or where they're working from, ensuring that highest level of performance. Even that micro branch that I showed you, you can control that the business critical traffic is prioritized first, or from a particular building, so that some users don't take up the traffic. Or if you lose links, we manage and we bond all of the different links, MPLS, internet, broadband, LTE, satellite, etc. You can bond those together also to deliver that highest level experience, if that's what you need coming out of your institution, your building, your site, that it cannot go down. So we can also bond that together, and what that results in is protecting and giving the highest level of experience for the most critical applications. So that's what I have for today. Let's see if we have any questions from Brianna or in the chat. Have any in the chat?